Step one on the right side, on the left side here. Good grief, I'm going to get my sides messed up. There's a little bit of disassembly. You've got to take the fender off. I took this tire off because whenever I did that right side, that tire kept getting in the way. So I went ahead and took it off this time around. And I also found out that they've apparently lost some shims. These are just big washers. So I put them back in where I found them at, because this one appears to be thicker than what this one is. And there was a big washer down here too, and that's bolted onto the fender. The fender is supposed to have had 2 bolts up top here, but they were gone. This is a big 9/16. This is your hardest bolt to get to, is this one right here. That's way up in there. Everything else you can put a ratchet on. This one you have to do with a wrench if it's there, but that's okay, it'll all work. Anyways, next step would be to go ahead and remove the door. Now before I remove the door, I thought about doing it last time, I didn't do it. I'm going to take this bolt off, the center bolt, and I'm going to bore a hole right between these 2 next bolts, because the plate that these bolt down to, the nut plate, it floats, it moves around in there. So if I have at least one thing that I can make things line up with, it's going to make it easier to line the door back up, upper and lower. So the next step is to remove the door after I get those holes bored. One other thing right off the bat, these little cups, they I'm using them to store up my bolts, and like this one, it's labeled FT, and it's all the fronts, all the bolts for this fender up front here. This one here is labeled top mains, and it's all the bolts that go in the top of the fender here. And then whenever I took the cowling off that goes here, one, I labeled the shims, numbered the shims, and then numbered where they go back to. I don't know how crucial it is. They all seem to be the same size, but I went ahead and did that anyways. I did it on the other side and it seemed to work out. So I'm doing it on this side too. So all of these bolts for this cowling are in a container with the cowling, and whenever I put these up, I'm going to put these with the fender, so that way I keep everything together. Okay, doors off. You can see the hole that I bored for these plates. So now I can get these plates right back into the right position. You see how they float? This one appears to be frozen. I couldn't get the drill bit over here, so I just went ahead and bored one there. Trick. Next thing you're going to wind up doing, if you're taking off the rocker panel, is you're going to be using, let's see, this critter right here, which is a spot weld cutter, and it's got a little spring-loaded tip to it, point. And what I've learned on the other side is if you take and center punch your spot welds, and then just barely with an 1/8 inch drill bit, just barely cut yourself a divot, so that right there, cut yourself a divot, it will keep this thing from wandering. The other thing is, do not use a lot of RPMs when using a spot weld cutter. You just want to kind of go slow and take your time. If you use a lot of RPMs, you're going to start breaking these teeth off. And these come, or the one that I got you can flip this little barrel around and you have teeth on both sides. And if you look very carefully at this bottom, you'll see that most of the teeth are gone on it. And that's how I learned. You go slow, you take your time, and you make sure it is good and square. Anyway, I'll talk to you after I get this outer rocker panel off. Thank you.